Fallout 4's weapon systems allow for a lot of wacky and weird concepts to be utilized within the confines of a weapon. There's an alien ray gun in the game, a gun that shoots railroad spikes, and even a flaming sword. The game generally expects the player to use many weapons interchangeably, as relying on these wacky weapons mentioned earlier isn't recommended, because the gun may not adhere to the same rules as others. But what if we did exactly that? What if we limited ourselves to one of those gimmick weapons? Very well, challenge accepted. Welcome to Challenge Chronicles. Today's episode, Fallout 4 with only a Cryolator. For my first challenge run on this channel, I've decided to do something rather simple, or so I thought, but we'll get to that. First of all, we begin the story where all Fallout 4 playthroughs begin, creating your character. I decided to make my character look like the only fictional character who could ever have the physical prowess to wield something that resembled a freeze ray, and we have begun. When the Vault-Tec man came to my door, I was presented with some choices. I decided to pour all of my points into intelligence and strength. Strength so I could carry a lot and get the heavy weapons perk pretty early on, and intelligence because I thought it was necessary to get the perk science to upgrade my Cryolator, even though I never actually modded it in the end. The rest of the skills are useless, so I distributed the points evenly. I gave myself a fitting name for my looks and personality, and the playthrough has officially begun. I wandered the house for a bit, going through the intro for the upteenth time, ran to the vault, went down into the vault, you get the idea. I got to the vault, and the vault doctor told me to walk into the freezer to become a popsicle. Seems fun, I say. While I was marinating in the freezer, some loser went up to my wife, shot her, and took my son? That seems pretty violent for a kid's game, so that's probably not what happened. After I was released from the freezer, I was presented with my first challenge. Getting out of the vault without attacking the roaches. Impossible, right? Wrong. Simply just grab their attention. Lead them to the room prior and lock the door. Easy. Although I did get jump scared by one roach that teleported through a wall.
How? What? How? How? Literally how?
Also, I caught my first glimpse of the Cryolator while exiting the vault. And it was like the game wafting a comically sized lollipop in front of a toddler. Don't worry, I'll come back for you. I grabbed my Pip-Boy and escaped. I pretty much just ignored Codsworth for the time being and headed to the Red Rocket truck stop to get Dogmeat. Why? He's a secret tool that'll help us now. I grabbed Dogmeat and ran back to the vault. While inside the vault, I asked Dogmeat to grab me the Cryolator, which he did, and then I banished him to the truck stop once more. It didn't look exactly as flashy as Gru's freeze ray, but it'll do. I'm no longer defenseless, but that doesn't mean I can just kill things willy-nilly now. Oh no, not yet. The Cryolator is a pretty good weapon, dealing about 20 base damage with an extremely high rate of fire, making it one of the best guns in the game actually. Wait, so where does the challenge actually come from? I don't hear you ask. Well, you'll see. I went back to Codsworth and then headed for Concord. I tested the Cryolator out on these blood bugs on the way to Concord, and I was pleasantly surprised about how effective it was. It one-shot both of these blood bugs and most of the raiders inside Concord. Not too bad. I blasted through the raiders inside the Museum of Freedom and then went inside some power armor and defeated a Deathclaw with my freeze ray.
Freeze ray! Freeze ray!
I was pleasantly surprised about how quickly I dealt with it, although it did take more ammo than I would have liked. After helping the Minutemen inside the Museum of Freedom, I was headed for the Great Green Jewel of the Commonwealth, Diamond City. Nothing much of note happened on the way to Diamond City. I killed some Wolfgangers, ignored the Brotherhood's pleas for help at the Cambridge police station, and my game crashed. So, you know, normal Fallout 4 stuff. I went into Diamond City by helping Piper, even though I really didn't want to. Lord knows how much I hate Piper from Fallout 4. God, she's so annoying. The only thing I hate more than Piper is shithead parents who thinks it's clever to call their child something stupid like Piper or Brayden. God, I fucking hate the name Brayden. Anyway, once I was granted access to the city, I was on the lookout for cryocells because I was running low. I logically assumed that cryocells was just another ammo type that all gun vendors would sell. I was wrong. It was in Diamond City that I learned a shocking realization. Do you have... No, you don't. Fuck. No one sells cryocells. I even traveled to Good Neighbor because I heard Cleo sold some, but she did not. I panicked a little and consulted the internet. Apparently cryocells are locked until a higher level. Yeah, I'm serious. Cryolator is a high-level weapon which you are supposed to get by unlocking a master lock case. So technically, I'm not even supposed to have it yet. No vendors even stock cryocells until you're level 15.
Can't do it. I can't take this shit.
I only just got to level 4. So how on earth am I going to be able to continue this run with no cryocells? Well, where there's will, there's a way. My name is literally Will. Long ago, in the ancient texts, there was a way to grind XP, an easy way. The elders of long past described a way to scrap wood things and spam place fence posts because building shit gives you XP. So I set off scrapping everything within a mile radius that had any wood in it. Then I spam placed down fence posts to grind XP up to standard. This took a while, like a long while. Even longer since my game crashed before it could autosave, meaning I had to do the whole thing all over again. No.
Oh no!
Every now and then, I would take a break from building my fence empire to check if any vendors sold cryocells yet. I would discover that they didn't, and then continue building. I even traveled to other settlements to start building there because I ran out of things to scrap at Sanctuary. After what felt like a millennia, I was finally level 15, and vendors finally started selling cryocells.
Oh my god, yes! Yes!
Hallelujah. But now, another problem.
Oh my god, 4,000 caps!
Cryocells are super expensive. Like, some of the most expensive ammo in the entire game. Both Arturo and Cleo sold cryocells for 29 caps per cell. That is absolutely stupidly overpriced. I bought what I could and set off for Park Street Station, thinking it would be enough. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. I had some trouble with the triggermen because they have guns that hurty and are ow. I used the cryocells as sparingly as possible and mainly relied on gun bashing once the enemy was frozen. I ran past most of the triggermen, entered Vault 114 and was face to face with Dino. I shot him with like maybe one cryocell before I realized I was running critically low, then I bashed his fucking nose in. I freed Valentine, then everything got substantially better. That was a lie, I'm sorry, things actually got worse. The range that the triggermen had on me, the sheer amount of them, and my lack of stim packs meant that I was forced to use the few cryocells I had left to progress. Then, once we got past them, I ran out of cells and had to rely on gun bashing once more. Once I got to the Skinny Malone part, I was scared. I had no cryocells and my charisma is quite low. I thought that there was no way in hell that I would pass the speech check to make Skinny spare us, but thankfully, luck was on my side. I passed the check, and then I hightailed it out of there like a fucking Looney Tunes Roadrunner without questioning my obscene luck. I met Nick back at Diamond City, searched Kellogg's house, absolutely ransacking it, and then I once again faced the cryocell issue. So, I was out of cryocells, but fret not. I had gathered enough junk from those triggermen that touched my no-no square in order to sell to vendors to get enough money to pay off 3% of my student loans. That's a lot, by the way. But it still wasn't enough to get me any meaningful amount of cryocells. I did find an infinite cap glitch that seems to not be patched out yet, but it does require local leader rank 2, which requires a charisma stat of 6. It was at this point that I realized that putting all of those points into strength and intelligence was a terrible idea. I decided to pour all of my points into intelligence and strength. Strength so I could carry a lot and get the heavy weapons perk pretty early on, and intelligence because I thought it was necessary to get the perk science to upgrade my Cryolator, even though I never actually won. I really should have gone with a strength charisma build instead. It would have made much more sense and saved me a lot of time. Oh well, so hindsight's 20/20, unless you're blind or something. For now, I just had to take on Fort Hagen with a net of about 70 or 80 cryocells, not much. I completely ignored Dogmeat and just headed straight for Fort Hagen because I'm enough of a pro gamer to just already know where it is. Dismissed Dogmeat once he got there, and took on the synths inside. They weren't too bad, just had to rely on gun bashing again to conserve ammo. On the way to Fort Hagen, I also picked up the gun basher perk to make bashing 20% more effective. So this strategy of conserving ammo is now pretty viable, especially since the cryocells freeze the targets. Anyway, I made my way towards Kellogg and braced for a huge fight. I saved all my cryocells for this. Ready? Here we go. Oh. So the Kellogg fight was actually embarrassingly easy. The Cryolator really doesn't fuck around. I took Kellogg's gun and clothes and now I'm Kellogg. I found out that apparently these guys called the Institute took my son. Honestly, I forgot I had one. I went back to Valentine only to find out that he was conversing with that snot rag Piper, something about some chick called Dr. Amari. He told me to fuck off to Good Neighbor to go to the memory den, and my least favorite part of the game began. The memory bit is just so fucking boring. I honestly just sped ran through it. Once out of that nightmare, Dr. Amari told me to go to the glowing sea to find Virgil, the only ex-Institute scientist that remains alive. The journey to the glowing sea was pretty uneventful as things go. I just chugged Rad-X and sprinted blindly in the general direction like a short-sighted man on cocaine. I found Virgil, and he told me that I had to kill a Corsair, so I went to CIT Ruins and just ignored the Corsair signal. I'm a pro gamer, okay? I have the world record on the Mario level Bowser's Big Bean Burrito, okay? I know how to get the green tech genetics. I went up through green tech, still using my cryocells pretty sparingly, even though I now had a somewhat comfortable amount of them. It took me a while to get to the top, especially since some asshole with a missile launcher decided to game end himself so I would die. What a dick.
That's not cool, Butters. You don't shoot a guy in the dick.
Anyway, I made it to the Corsair and was surprised about how much short work I made of him. Again, the Cryolator is a really good weapon, and it's only the ammo being stupidly rare and expensive that is holding it back. I took the Corsair uniform, and now I'm the Corsair. I freed the synth girlie only for me to murder her anyway because war never changes or something like that. I brought the Corsair chip to Dr. Amari. She said she didn't know dick about squat and recommended me to some kooks that are holed up in a collapsed church and believe that machines are living beings. Wow, thanks Dr. Amari. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. The operation running here is clearly very lucrative. I completely ignored the Freedom Trail because I'm a pro gamer, remember? And I just got a teensy bit lost on the way to the Old North Church, but I found it in the end. I talked to Desdemona inside and got the Corsair chip analyzed. Brought the Corsair chip data back to Virgil, and he gave me the plans to build a wacky sci-fi piece of high-tech, a teleporter. He asked, not very politely I might add, that I retrieve a serum from inside the Institute that would turn him back from being a super mutant. I agreed, even though I had absolutely zero intention of helping him, and I never did help him. Whoops. I decided I was going to side with the railroad on this playthrough. Why? Because I realized that I have never actually done a railroad ending before in this game. Every time I play Fallout 4, I side with either the Minutemen or the Brotherhood. Not this time. I'm shaking things up like a maracas at a Cinco de Mayo party. I talked to Desdemona and showed her the plans for the teleporter. She completely ignored me and said that I have to prove my worth and meet up with Deacon or something. So I have to do a railroad mission before I get to side with them. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. I met up with Deacon, beat the living hell out of this Yao Guai that got stuck, and proceeded inside the sewer. This is genuinely my first time playing this mission, no joke. My net of cryocells had been steadily increasing, as every time I would sell a bunch of junk to buy more cryocells, I had used less cryocells than what I bought. I got a cool new silenced pistol for my troubles, which I immediately sold to get more cryocells, and now I could finally build the teleporter. I built it, and I was teleported inside the Institute. Inside the Institute, I contacted the Institute scientists that had been helping Synth escape to the surface, and then I met Father. Turns out the guy running the Institute is my son, and he's like way older than me and has a much cooler beard. A little insulting, and he's called Father. It's like they designed the reveal to be confusing. Anyway, I agreed to help him because I'm an undercover railroad agent. Shh, don't tell them. And I met all the directors. I met Liam, the dude that had been taking synths to the surface, and told him and his synth friend, Z1, to get ready to stage a revolution. Liam told me that he needed some passwords so he could hack the doors come time for our escape. So I went off to Cambridge Polymer Labs, which luckily I had already discovered. I absolutely love this location, very underrated in my opinion. The Mr. Handy really does think she's preparing you for a science job. It's hilarious. I entered the lab, was trapped in the lab, and went around killing the ghouls. Luckily, I already had a hazmat suit, making grabbing the U-238 sample extremely easy. Although the glowing one ghoul that I found in there was an absolute bullet sponge and took up most of my ammo. Stupid piece of shit. Found my way through into the room with the terminal and got the password. I then refused to do any more experiments and forced Mum to let me out of my room. Mum didn't like that. That's okay, she was old and rusty anyway. I briefly stopped by the director's office to give him a slap, and then I was off. I returned to the Institute to give the password to Z1, and bro literally told me to give him a day. What a loser. So I sat near him, staring at him for exactly 24 hours. He then told me that I had to kill some guards. When I killed those guards, I could never imagine how effective my Cryolator was. It is worthy to note that at this point, I had put 2 points into the Heavy Gunner perk, meaning my Cryolator now did 24 damage per shot instead of 20. I also put another point into the Basher perk, which now made gun bashing 50% more effective. I told Z1 that the guards were dealt with and everything was in place. Now all I had to do was continue working with Father and continue to be a secret railroad agent. Father told me to meet up with a Corsa to bring back a rogue synth. Nothing much happened on my way to X688. I mean, my game crashed a few times. I really don't know what is making my game crash. Usually it doesn't happen very often. Anyway, I met up with X688 and unleashed hell onto the raiders. It took me a while to get up to the top, especially since some arsehole with a fat man pissed a miniature nuclear warhead onto my cranium. Once up there, I just immediately used the recall code for the synth, speedrunner's tactic right there. Then I met back up with Father and he told me I was a good boy. His best boy. Now, I have to tell you something. All this time, I've been leveling up and putting my points into Charisma, so I could eventually get the local leader perk to rank 2. After taking down those raiders, I was finally able to acquire the local leader perk rank 2, which means it's time for that infinite caps glitch. Props to the YouTube channel Gaming Exploits for notifying me of this glitch and making a super easy to follow video on how to do it. The link to that video will be in the description. Simply place a shop down at a settlement. It can be any shop, but armor shops work best. Now press the scrap and store buttons at the same time, and boom, now you have 2 of those shops, meaning you've just duplicated your caps. I did this for about 12 to 15 minutes until I had a completely stupid amount of caps on me. I was now richer than both Elon Musk and that guy that comes into the restaurant and consistently orders the most expensive dish. Now, it was time to go shopping. I did the rounds at Diamond City and Good Neighbor, buying up all of their cryo cells and then waiting 2 days so they'd restock. I bought up every single cryo cell. You might as well call me the cryo cell trafficker because that's how many I hunted down and purchased. After a few rounds of this, boom, look at this. 999 cryo cells. I now essentially had infinite ammo. I was now completely unstoppable. Literally nothing in this game could stand in my way. Which is good timing because now it's time for the Battle of Bunker Hill. I informed Desdemona that the Institute was planning to take down some rogue synths, and she told me to just play it cool and play along, but to free the synths and not deactivate them. The battle was pretty chaotic. I had infinite cryocells, so Brotherhood Knights are just a fucking joke to me now. I literally just mowed down anyone who stood in my path. Literally, like everyone died. Look at this. Then I got to the synths and freed them, making the battle for Bunker Hill a win for the railroad. I was told Father wanted to speak to me atop of CIT ruins, so I headed there. I just got a little bit lost, trying to get up to where Father was, but I eventually found my way. He yelled at me for Bunker Hill being a failure, and I just kinda told him I'm sorry, and he forgave me. Then I leveled up and chose the 3rd rank of the Heavy Gunner perk, meaning my Cryolator now does 32 damage per shot. I was becoming more powerful with each passing second, and Father could never hope to stop me. I attended the boring director meeting where Father announced that he ate one too many guacamole gamer farts, and now he has contracted cancer and will probably die in the next few days. He announced that I will replace him as director of the Institute, which, fat chance that's ever happening, and he told me to speak with Dr. Ali. It's time for mass fusion. I was warned that teleporting to mass fusion was going to make me permanent enemies with the Brotherhood of Steel, and I'm sure that in some parallel universe far away from here, I actually gave a shit, but not here. I teleported into mass fusion and took out the Brotherhood scribes and knights there. I headed down the elevator and completely mowed down all the little Brotherhood shits in my path. Can this elevator go any faster? God. Once I got to the beryllium agitator room, I put on my hazmat suit to go get it. Then the sentry bot was released. Look at this. Look at the fucking footage on your screen. Look at how quickly I was able to fucking obliterate this sentry bot. I am now completely unstoppable. I'm death incarnate. I mowed down the 2 assaultrons that came at me after the sentry bot. Then I teleported back to the Institute. Father told me that I had to make a speech to the Commonwealth or something. Then I went to Diamond City, broke into Travis's tiny fucking pathetic excuse for a house, and disassembled his radio equipment right in front of him. Now it's time to put that beryllium agitator to use. I slotted it into the generator and Father gave a speech. I attended a director meeting, this time as the director, and then a synth ran up to me to tell me that C1 had to meet with me immediately. Bad news, the Brotherhood is on their way to fuck shit up. I warned Desdemona, and the Brotherhood invaded. I completely fucking mowed down all the Brotherhood dudes in my way. Just look at how fast I was able to fucking obliterate them. Glory died. Oh well, I guess. I took her coat and now I'm Glory. Desdemona told me it's time to take the fight to the Brotherhood and eliminate them once and for all. I met up with Tom and Deacon at Cambridge Police Station and mowed down more Brotherhood goons. We stole the vertibird and set off for the Pridwin. I donned a Brotherhood of Steel uniform and infiltrated the Pridwin. I failed the speech check to make them believe I was a scribe quite a few times, meaning that Elder Max's laser minigun turned my body into a punching bag. Eventually I got it, planted the charges, and fucking beelined it for the vertibird. We escaped and saw the Pridwin go down. That was pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. Once the Brotherhood was dealt with, it was time for Z1 to incite his long-awaited revolution. I killed everyone in the teleporter room, and Z1 teleported the railroad guys in. What followed was complete and utter massacre of all the Institute scientists. It was beautiful. A complete and utter bloodbath. I made sure to leave no survivors. No one could withstand the might of my freeze ray. I went to my terminal to give Tom access to the doors, and I found Father sick and dying on his bed like a little bitch. He castrated me for not letting him indoctrinate me into thinking that the Institute was just a happy-go-lucky organization that wanted nothing but the future for the Commonwealth. Never mind that they wanted to fucking kill everyone. I tried to convince him to help me let some synths free, but he refused, so I turned him into a popsicle. A subtle nod to how I was a popsicle at the start of this story. I gave Tom access to the doors, then I headed inside to the generator room. There was a legendary synth in my way, so I turned them into Utsi the Iceman and stripped their corpse clean. The rest of the synths I just ignored. I planted the charge on that generator and was teleported to the relay room. The robot Sean said he wanted to come with me. I agreed, but it was more like an, oh, fine. And then it was time to hit the road, Jack. I stood on a skyscraper overlooking the Institute, and I pressed the detonator. And that's it. That's a wrap. I completed Fallout 4 with only a Cryolator. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and drop a like. Alternatively, if you hated it, go ahead and drop a dislike. And feel free to go into the comments to tell me all the other ways I'm a total fuckhead. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's totally free, and you can always unsubscribe later. Anyway, that's all from me. Thanks for watching Challenge Chronicles, and I'm out of here.